Sing, please sing. This is a melody, this is a nigun called the Elul nigun. It's created just for this time, for the time of the new year, for the sweetness of the new year. So when we're singing this, let's welcome in the sweetness of the new year. And please sing. שבט אחים גם יחד, הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, 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 שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב מנהי, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב מנהי, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנהי, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנהי, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Shana Tova, everybody. You know, we're singing Gam Yachad together, and this is a very different kind of together than any other service I've ever experienced on the High Holy Days. We will remember it, and it will be different. And that Yachad, that togetherness, is actually still happening, even though we are not physically in our spaces. We are in a virtual space together, and we are in a sacred time with all of world Jewry together, figuring out that we can make sacred space, we can make sacred time, even without all of the structures that we're used to. Now we are in the structure of Zoom, and there's certain advantages. So I want to go through some of those advantages with you. One is that if you've ever been shy about the sound of your voice, if you've ever been sort of feeling like you want some cover and you don't want to be exposed in your singing, now is your chance to sing like you're muted and only God can hear you. So don't hold back. We really hope that you participate fully this morning. And even though this looks like television, it's not. This is live and it's interactive. And so we're very well trained to just sort of sit back and watch and, you know, imagine that all the action is happening over there and we just get to take it in. This is different. This is you engaging. And so I hope that you'll sing along, you'll chat when we ask you to, and also just know that there may be times where the view of the camera jumps around. And so if your video feed is on, you might see yourself come up on the main screen. So if you don't want to be visible at certain times, if you want privacy, you can turn that off. But I do encourage you to keep yourself visible, because for me anyway, and for others who are speaking and singing, it's really helpful to see faces and to be able to see that we're being heard and seen. So if you can be visible, please be visible, but no, you can turn that off. Also, you can toggle if you like between gallery view and speaker view. You can open up your chat. And if you don't know what those things are, you can just take a moment to experiment floating your cursor around the periphery of your screen to find different things. So yeah, here's a little slide to remind you of all of that. And we'll have most of us muted for most of the service, although as I say, that doesn't mean you should stop singing. And I think that's all you need to know about Zoom for us to keep going. Let's take a minute now to just re-enter prayer space. And I'm going to invite everybody to just stand up and just take a little bit of time to appreciate being embodied. So feel your feet on the ground. You can stretch out your arms. You can take a couple of deep breaths and bring into your mind, bring into your heart, what are the things that you're thankful for? Gratitude is a transformative spiritual practice. It's contagious. It is something that can be practiced even when we're in the most extreme situations of adversity. We can find things to be thankful for and remember the blessings, whether it's the air itself or the people around us or all the good things. So we're going to open up the chat right now, and you can flood that chat with the things that you're thankful for as we warm ourselves up. And I will get us started with our practice here now. So you can follow me out loud, you can add to the chat, and here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for community. Oh, Ensemble, where are you? Jump in now. What are you thankful for?
Amen. For breathable air.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for a comfortable bed to sleep in at night.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for this moment.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for musical instruments.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for nature.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for Or Shalom.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for music.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for truth.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for creative work to do.
Amen. For what we know that has no words.
Amen.
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 All right, everybody, you can be seated. And now we're going to listen in and get ourselves in the mood for the High Holy Days with our Hashivenu, Return Again anthem, which we have at the beginning of every service this year as in every year.
the source of it all. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Ashivenu, Ashivenu, Adonai Elecha, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the source of it all. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
Now I'd like to call Liz Isaacs to offer a poem to set the mood for our Rosh Hashanah.
Your Book of Life by Rabbi Laura Geller. Your Book of Life doesn't begin today on Rosh Hashanah. It began when you were born. Some of the chapters were written by other people, your parents, siblings, and teachers. Parts of your book were crafted out of experiences you had because of other people's decisions. Where you lived, what schools you went to, what your homes were like. But the message of Rosh Hashanah, the anniversary of the creation of the world, is that everything can be made new again. That much of your book is written every day by the choices you make. The book is not written and sealed. You get to edit it, decide what parts you want to emphasize and remember, and maybe even which parts you want to leave behind. Shana Tova means both a good year and a good change. Today, you can change the rest of your life. It's never too late. Shana Tova.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol anshama to Aliyah. Hallelujah. Hallelu, 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 Hallelu. Kol anshama to Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Kol anshama to Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Sing up, sing up. Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Kol anshama to Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Kol anshama to Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. One more time from the top. Let's go. Hallelujah, 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 Hallelujah. Sing out with all your might. Kol anshama to Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Kol anshama to Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Kol anshama to Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Kol anshama to Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Hallelujah.
All right, everybody, stand up and face east. We call ourselves to prayer now that we're all warmed up. Page 4, Barechu. Mikey, go for it. Barechu.
Oh, I don't know how that happened. Thought I was singing the whole time. Guess I got
All right.
muted there. Excuse me. I la 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 la. 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 I la 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 la. I la la la. Barechu et Adonai Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
All right, everyone, stay standing if you would. And we are going to pray with our bodies and our voices. There's a chant on page 4, Kadosh, 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 holy, 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 Adonai Tzavaot, Lord of hosts, the sort of multifaceted divine. Melochol haaretz kevodo. The entire world is full of bits of divine glory. So we're going to sing. So the movements are 3 steps forward, 3 steps back, raise your arms up and then lower them. And then you twirl around in one direction and twirl around in the other. And the ensemble is going to demonstrate as I sing and drum here. So you can sing with me and move with them. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Adonai Tzevaot. Forward and back. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Adonai Tzevaot, Melocho haaretz kevodo. It's okay if you're not quite in sync. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Adonai Tzevaot, Melocho haaretz kevodo, Melocho haaretz kevodo, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Adonai All right, your bodies may be seated, but please leave your spirits standing and dancing as we go. And I'd like now to call Benjamin Schneider to offer a poem which was written in very early March by Lynn Unger.
Pandemic by Lynn Unger. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel. Cease from buying and selling. Give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You can hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we shall live.
May we heal this world with love. May we build this world with love. Olam Chesed. Olam Chesed Ibanei. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai. 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 I will build this world with love. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai. You can build this world from love. You can build this world from love. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai. And if we build this world from love, and if we build this world from love, yalalai, lalai, yalalai. Then God will build this world from love. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai. I will build this world from love. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai. You can build this world. You can build this world with love. Yalalai, yalalai. And if we build this world with love, then Yah will build this world with love. Yadanai, nai, 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 nai.
We take a few breaths, and if you have a talit with you, you can gather your tzitzit, the fringes on the corners, into one hand as we prepare to recite the Shema on page 5. Just a few deep breaths and listening to the voice that is within, the still small voice. One breath for each word. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We turn to page 6, and we're going to sing in just a moment, Ozi V'Zimrat Yah. And where that comes from in our tradition is, it's a fragment of the Song of the Sea, the song that the Israelites sang as they crossed out of slavery and into the next chapter of freedom and the chance to build a sacred society. And so we remember that moment many, many times. We remember it in our prayers twice a day. If we're in traditional practice, we remember it as we encounter the story in the Torah reading cycle, and of course on the holiday of Passover. And this year, as we're remembering it right now, I'm thinking about how those Israelites, our ancestors, were in 400 years of one terrible situation of slavery. It must have seemed like it couldn't change. It must have seemed unimaginable what needed to change. And then they went through this horrible time of plague after plague after plague, of every catastrophe imaginable. And that must have been even more excruciating than the 400 years of slavery. And then it turned out that was part of this horrible disruption that needed to happen in order for these big structural changes to happen, in order for them to be free. And so as we are singing today and remembering that moment in our sacred mythology, my prayer is that we are going to be able to see those great big structural changes that have needed to happen for so long, since way before the pandemic, way before this presidency. Structural changes that we may have thought were impossible to change in our lifetimes. May this period of disruption and all of these terrible afflictions that are striking our world right now be the catalyst for the change we need. Ken Yehi Ratzon. So sing with me. Ozi V'Zimrat Yah Vayli Lishua, my strength. Ozi. Ozi vezimradia, and the song of God. Vaili Yeshua will be my salvation. Ozi vezimradia, Vaili Yeshua. Ozi vezimradia, Vaili Yeshua. Nice and loud, don't be shy. Ozi vezimradia, Vaili Yeshua. Ozi vezimradia, Vaili Yeshua, my strength and the song of God. Ozi vezimradia, Vaili Yeshua. Ozi vezimradia, Vaili Yeshua. So I'm going to send you now into a bit of time on your own to pray. And if you don't quite know what it means to pray, you're not alone. I think a lot of us are very well practiced and some of us still figuring it out. But this is a chance for you to explore. And I'm going to suggest a practice. If you have your own prayer practice, go for it right now. If you want to go look into a prayer book and use that for guidance, please be my guest. If you have a meditation practice, you can engage it right now. And if you want something new or some suggestion, here is what I'm giving to you. This is from Rabbi Nachman. It's a practice called Hitbodedut. And what he suggests, and this is particularly good if you're on your own right now, is praying out loud in words and saying whatever's on your heart. It might be something like, I feel ridiculous. I can't believe I'm talking out loud to nobody. But you can start there and move from there. Try to find the prayers of your heart. It might be things like, please God, heal my loved one. It might be something about the world. It might be something you're hoping for. It might be something you're sorry for. Please forgive me. I need to do better on this thing. So speak it out loud. There's a power to hearing your own voice say words out loud. And if you're not on your own, you may want to take this into writing. You may want to take this into a silent meditation, a chance to just speak from the heart in your heart. So as we're doing this practice, if you want some privacy, you can turn off your video feed, but please do turn it back on when we come back, and we will be back in about 2 or 3 minutes with Avinu Malkeinu. So definitely don't disappear, because that is a very powerful centerpiece of our service this morning. And now you're on your own, and I invite you to really dig in there, really try to find the prayers of your heart. Please rise for Avinu Malkeinu. You may be seated. And now it is my honor and pleasure to introduce Dr. Dan Glass, who is an Or Shalom member, a dear friend, and the head of school where my children go to school at Brandeis Jewish Day School. So it's a treat to have you here, Dan, to give us some wisdom this morning. I'll turn things to you.
Thank you, Rabbi Katie. Good morning, Shana Tova. I'm really honored to have this opportunity to share these words with our Or Shalom community. Thank you, Rabbi Katie, for the invitation. As I thought about what to speak to today, how to begin this new year of all years, with a pandemic out of control, with the West in flames, now with Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed, I was struck by how little, in fact, seems new. How the days stuck in our homes, stuck in video boxes on screens, blend one into the next. It's so easy to slip into distracted ennui, into lethargy and apathy, into the metaphysical boredom of alcohol and Netflix and Amazon shopping carts. What is the shofar blast, the wake-up call for such a time? For me, it was a broken refrigerator. One day recently, we returned home to a puddle of red ooze at the bottom of our freezer, raspberries and popsicles having melted into goo. We unplugged and plugged things, pressed buttons and Googled solutions, but to no avail. It was just the end of this appliance's working life as a cooler for food. So we hopped online and made some calls, sure of the easy availability of a new icebox. But it turned out that refrigerators were hard to find. The compressor supply chain, we were told, had been impacted, interrupted by the pandemic. Not knowing how to visualize either compressors or supply chains, the image that popped into my head was a painting I had seen some years back by the artist Rick Ogans, and I'm gonna share that painting with you here for a moment through the magic of Zoom. Here, so this is one of these paintings. It's a subject he's taken up many times. In these pieces, Ogans paints the container ships that slip in and out of the San Francisco Bay, always with smoke or fire on the horizon line, a burning something just beyond sight. These are the ships that we don't think of when we click buy now on our Amazon apps, the aquatic linchpin of that global supply chain that was suddenly short on compressors. These paintings, like this moment of being unable to find a fridge for me, render our invisible assumptions visible, and in so doing, return us to a different world with eyes remade for wonder, as Rabbi Lawrence Kushner once put it. We did eventually get a refrigerator. Since then, I've encountered other interrupted supply chains, as I imagine you have as well. 26-inch bicycle tubes, for example, oddly enough. When I do encounter these interruptions, I try and hold the sublime impossibility of that supply chain in my mind. The individual workers not going to individual factories, not tying individual shoes or packing individual lunches, not loading individual shipping containers, the real human lives that are the fabric of it all. It's a hard thing to do, to hold all of that in one's mind, to try and open up to the full connectedness of our world. It feels especially hard to do now with our attention so frayed, with our newly multi-channel work lives rife with Zooms and chats and tabs and texts, with our homes become offices and gyms and schoolrooms, with all of us stuck, so unendingly present, and yet so unable to be present at all. There's a teaching from Rabbi Allan of blessed memory, longtime rabbi at Congregation Beth Shalom here in San Francisco. In his book, This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared, he writes, before Israel goes off to war, the Torah tells us, the officers of the army must address the people and tell them the following. And here he's quoting Parshat Shoftim. Who is the person who has built a new house but has not yet inhabited it? Let them go and return to their house, lest they die in the war and another inhabit their house. The idea of it all seems to be that if we leave something incomplete, we fall into the state of mind the rabbis called traf da'at, a torn mind, a mind pulled in various directions. Who among us could answer that our minds are not pulled in many directions? As we enter this new year when so much and so little feels new, what are we to do with a torn mind? Rabbi Lou offers a possible approach. He writes, but there was another instruction officers were required to give their troops toward the end of Parshat Shoftim. Quote, who is this person who is fearful and faint-hearted? Let them go and return, lest their family's heart melt as their heart has. The assumption beneath this admonition is both staggering in its scope and simplicity. We all share the same heart. Ordinarily, we are taken in by the materialist myth of discrete being. We look like we are separate bodies. Physically, we can see where one of us begins and another of us ends, but emotionally, spiritually, it simply isn't that way. To share a heart, to be spiritually inseparable, what might that mean? In her brilliant book, My Common Heart, the poet Anne Boyer writes, I keep in my heart my empire, the spoils, the missiles and Congress people, the drones of the common empire, the radars of empire and the robotic arms of empire and the nanotechnologies of empire, the corrective surgeries and interdisciplinary departments of empire, the wired and the unwired configurations of empire, the profits both personal and impersonal, the margins both personal and impersonal, the suffering both public and privatized, the profitless profits of universities, the invisible hands of the invisible workers, the invisible hands of mostly women and children. I keep in my empire the empire's hands. I keep in my heart an empire of the sleeping and the unsleeping, visible and invisible crowd. I keep in my common empire, my heart, also common. How might we make our hearts common? To hold the suffering and the sleeping, the torn and the repaired, this world and the world to come. How to put our hearts in service of that world that art makes just barely visible, a bright possibility burning on the horizon. How to hold the truth of our nation as a white supremacist occupying force and the beautiful diversity of our cities, our schools, our neighborhoods. How to hold the cops kneeling on necks and pulling triggers, and Jacob Blake and George Floyd. How might we transcend the singularity of our hearts such that they become a common heart, such that they could encompass so much pain and so much possibility? Arthur Green, in his book Radical Judaism, suggests that transcendence does not refer to a God out there or over there, somewhere beyond the universe. Transcendence means rather that God or being is so fully present in the here and now of each moment that we could not possibly grasp the depth of that presence. Transcendence thus dwells within immanence. I would offer to you this morning that the spiritual work of this new year and these days of awe is precisely to find our way to the transcendence within immanence, to repair the tears in our lives and our minds. So, may we work together in the days ahead to find our way to be fully present to the fullness of this world, to make the invisible visible for ourselves and each other, to open our hearts to the commonality of our spirit, and in so doing, steer our aching nation and earth toward justice, burning yet without being consumed, bright still on our horizon. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova. Thank you, Dan. Beautiful and inspiring. Whew. Let's just take that in for a minute and appreciate so many pieces of it. The ways that we're connected, the ways that the greatness is contained within the microscopic and the moments. Thank you. So we're going to encounter some Torah now. And we have a multi-sanctuary, multi-house Torah encounter in store. So we have in a moment, we'll see Debbie, who is also at Brandeis and an Or Shalom member, with the scroll. In her space, we'll see Meira, who's going to chant. We'll see Susan, who's going to read the translation. And we'll have me here with one of Or Shalom's Torahs. This one, which you will have seen if you have been with us in any of these moments. We've been with this very plush Torah at the Women's March in 2017, 2018, 2019. We've been there with Gay Pride, with Come Together Rally, with various Martin Luther King marches, March for Our Lives. This particular Torah has been praying with us and been a banner for us to find one another in the sea of people that happens when there isn't a pandemic and when you can gather for mass demonstrations. And so this will be here with me as we go through our Torah service, and reminding us all of all the various ways that we have Torah in our lives. And I want to just get us ready by talking a little bit about the meaning of what we're going to encounter in this Torah reading for the first day of Rosh Hashanah. So in a minute, we will hear about the story in Genesis chapter 21 of Hagar and Sarah. So Sarah and Hagar. And, you know, I'm just going to read you actually right out of my journal, something that I was writing about it to get us in there. And then we'll have a chance to actually discuss it with each other quickly. I am the great, 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 great granddaughter of Sarah, something like it. And I read chapter 21 of Genesis with shame and sorrow, if I'm honest. I see how my ancestor mistreated another woman, how she afflicted her and cast her out in anger, in fear, to die in the desert with her son. And if I look around that text and I see all of the texts that have come after, I see how my more recent ancestors, in the form of generations of rabbis, spend most of their time defending and apologizing and excusing this behavior, villainizing the victims, and using other familiar strategies of finger pointing and blame as old as Adam and Eve. It's very familiar. It's what we do when our mistakes are exposed. It's painful to admit our own wrongdoing. It's painful to acknowledge the wrongs of our beloved ancestors. We are not well practiced in holding complexity, that Sarah was both inspirational and cruel. Good guy, bad guy, human being. Imperfect, yet made in the divine image like all of us. I don't think my guilty feelings serve Hagar or her descendants. I love the teaching in the Midrash that in the next generation, Isaac goes to find Hagar. So Isaac being Abraham's son with Sarah. After Sarah dies, he goes into the desert and he finds Hagar and brings her back to get married to Abraham after Sarah dies. What I learned from that is that some relationships are so broken, maybe they cannot mend in a single lifetime or a single generation. But I also see that Sarah, if she left a debt of a certain kind, Sarah left this debt, and Isaac, the next generation, her son, made effort to pay that debt. Effort that I think was significant. And so I'm thinking about all of this in terms of our moment, in terms of especially all of the racial justice issues that are happening, that have been happening, but that are beginning to be more conscious for us. And I have a couple of questions that I'd like us to think about. And here's what we're going to do. Nate, you can put up the slide. Now we're going to think about these two questions, and we're going to send you into some breakout rooms to discuss them. So the first question is just kind of to get us in the mood. It's, thinking about this story of, the story is that Sarah casts out Hagar and Ishmael, her son, into the desert out of jealousy and fear. And then they go into the desert and eventually they find their way and God saves them. we'll read that in more detail later. But as you think about that story, who do you identify with? Do you identify with Sarah, with Hagar, with Ishmael, with Isaac, Abraham? And why do you feel identified with those people? So that's question number one. Question number two is more, us and abstract. How do we acknowledge the wrongdoing of past generations in ways that are fair, in ways that are respectful and constructive? When I think about how I feel about Sarah, I also admire Sarah and honor Sarah and love Sarah and feel very identified with Sarah. So it's complicated. So how do we acknowledge the wrongdoing in a way that's constructive? And is there a way for us to make right the wrongs of our ancestors and past generations? And if so, how? So it's a lot to chew on. We're going to send you into groups of about 6. You can decide not to go into a breakout group, but I hope you do. And when you do, you'll have an invitation pop up. You just say join. You'll go into a group and just take a moment as you get there to just introduce yourselves to one another. And you can even do that with the first question of like, which character in the story do you resonate with? Or you can introduce yourself some other way. And we'll also send these questions into the room so you can remember them that way too. So Nate, go ahead and send people into these breakout rooms. We're going to give you a message when you have about 1 minute left to wrap things up. All righty, I'll see you soon. Off you go.
Okay.
All right, are we all back?
Yes.
Welcome back, everybody. And in case you are unmuted for that last bit, let's mute ourselves one more time. And if for some reason you didn't manage to fully get to the bottom of both of those questions, I hope you didn't. And I hope it left you feeling tantalized to have more conversations with the people that you met and were talking to. And you can do that by tuning into Or Shalom and coming to Or Shalom stuff, because we have amazing people. So full disclosure, we're having some tech issues going on in the background. So just please continue to be patient, and we're doing all we can. So we're going to move on now to the top of page 9 as we get ready to encounter Torah in a different way. So you can sing with me as you get this melody. I'll just do a nigun first, sing along, and then we can add the words. Ya la la ya ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya ya la 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 ya la la ya ya la 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 ya la la ya ya la 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 ya la la ya ya la 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 Mitziyon Torah, Adonai Yerushalayim, Ki Mitziyon Torah, Adonai Yerushalayim, please rise, and we're going to turn to page 10 for the opening to our Torah service, and Debbie is going to hold the scroll for us in her space. All right, Debbie, you'll need to unmute. There we go.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh v'norah Shemo.
Gadol Adonai iti, uneromema Shemo yachdav.
All right. Thank you, Debbie. So everyone stay standing if you would, and we're going to all be a part of this one collective aliyah. So in person, we would have different groups coming up, different people to say the blessings. Today, everybody's going to be in charge of the blessing. It's on page 11, and we are going to all stand and actually be led by our teens, who are going to be the leaders, but all of us can join them as we sing these blessings and prepare to hear the Torah read.
Baruch atah Adonai Hambarah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher kivanu le'avodato v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. And you may be seated now as we listen into the Torah.
Amen. Vayashkem Avraham baboker. Vayikach lechem lechemat mayim. Vayitegin el hagar. Sam al shikma et hayaled vayshalchecha vatelech vateta bamidbar be'er shava vayelchu chamayim mincha chemet vatashleich et hayaled tachat Achad Hasichim Vateilich Vateshav Lo Mineged Harechik Kim Tachavei Keshet Ki Amaracha Al Erei Bamot Hayaled Vateshev mineged, vatisacha et kol avateiv.
Did you hear that? Was it on mute? Okay.
We got it. Okay, Susan, your turn. Nate, can you spotlight Susan?
Okay, here we go. Early the next morning, Abraham took some bread and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. He placed them over her shoulder, together with the child, and sent her away. And she wandered about in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water was gone from the skin, she left the child under one of the bushes and went and sat down at a distance, a bowshot away, for she thought, let me not look on as the child dies. And sitting thus afar, she burst into tears. God heard the cry of the boy, and an angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heeded the cry of the boy where he is.
All right, everybody, please rise as we prepare for the closing blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Asher natan lanu Torah temed, v'chaye olam natan betohenu.
Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Ve'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rechav Leah. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah bless all of us who are rising today in our spaces, in our world. May we be blessed with complete healing on every level. each of us in our own separate bodies and souls, and each of us in our collectivity. May we be blessed to have an opportunity in the year ahead to rebuild and renew ourselves, to do deep work to be better, and to make sure that when we do emerge from this cocoon we're in right now, that we emerge in a way that is stronger, that is wiser, that is more skillful and true to the values we hold dear. May we find that this difficult time can be redeemed by teaching us what we need to learn. And may we all find many, many blessings of joy and health and community and togetherness in the year ahead. Amen. Amen, amen. All right, we can all be seated now, and we're going to keep going with that mood, and we are going to say a prayer for healing. And I think perhaps, I think the first step in that prayer for healing is to have you put names into the chat. I'm going to read our healing list. Hopefully we have Mikey back. We lost him for a bit there, but I think he's back. Mikey, just let me know privately if you can lead the Misha Berach in a moment, or I can do it if you're still having trouble. And so in the meantime, just take a moment, everybody, to bring into your hearts anyone you know in need of healing. It can be on a physical level, it can be spiritual, it can be emotional, people who need healing after a time of loss. It can be people you know personally, people who we know of because we're tuned into the world around us, the people who are suffering from COVID-19, the people who are, recovering from losing so much, loved ones, homes, all of that. People who are working on healing our country from our divides, people who are working hard on healing from our history of racial injustice, all of that. And our planet itself, the needs of this planet to heal from all the damage that humanity has caused. So all of those things, bring those to your mind. I'm going to read through our healing list. By the way, if there's a name that is missing from our healing list, you can send it to us between now and Yom Kippur. Or if, God willing, there's a name that you put on there that no longer needs to be on there, tell us that as well. Chaya Golda Bat Leah, Powell Hauser, Kevin Thaw, Carol Langbort, Ellen Jones, Jed Minoff, Devorah Bat Harav, Raphael Berachel, Aidan Pastor, Rebecca Braun, Mary Ellen Braun, Fred Braun, Maureen Laidley, Dennis Collins, Marty Schwartz, Charles Small, Jim Wheaton, Gary Cohen, Megan Moore, Audrey Rosenheim, Tara Trudell Bat John Valou, Susan Levine, Margot Freistadt, Janet Beach, Michael Reddy, Sunshine Mugrabi, Varghese George, Harry Chesley, Barbara Olasoff Rothbaum, Misha Holm, Shirley Jaslow, Karen Brenner, Dario Ryan Abramskeen, Rosalie Weiner, Judy Bush, Roberta Sachs, Brian Copeland, Beck Garcia, Jody Lerner, Betty Reed Soskin, Delia Prado, Catherine Diamond, Madeline Chappelle, Beth Bird, Ralph Nieder Westerman, Sharon Richardson, Danny Weiss, Patricia Mizrahi, Jonathan Yitzhaki, Lisa Dayan, Ricky Moskowitz, Henry Glassman, Sam Geffner, Tom James, Phyllis Thurm. And we also have been adding for many months now the names of those individuals that are being accompanied in their encounters with our immigration system by members of Shalom who are making our sanctuary commitments real. So we're praying for the healing now of Jaime, Belisa, Jose, Kylie and Lark, Diego and Jose Eduardo, as well as all of those names you added. And Mikey, are you able to lead us in the Misha Berach?
I am. Can you hear?
All right, so great.
All right.
So the Misha Berach is on page 8, if you'd like the words.
Excuse me, everyone. My preamp decided to die during our service, so it was perfect timing as I learned how to calmly recreate my entire home studio in about 10 minutes. So the miracles of technology And I want to add my grandmother to this name, to this list. Chaya Golda Bat Leah, sending my love to you, Grandma. And as we all sing in a collective song for the prayer of healing, Misha Berach. Sheberach Avotenu Mekor Bracha Leavotenu. May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach avotenu mekor bracha leimotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And now we turn to a prayer for our country. And we're going to use the words of Langston Hughes. Allan Pleaner will read them for us.
Unmute. Let America be America again. This is a poem by Langston Hughes. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great strong land of love where kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I'm the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient, endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need. of work, the men of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I'm the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I'm the worker, sold to the machine. I'm the Negro, servant to you all. I'm the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry, yet today, despite the dream, beaten, yet today, oh, pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I'm the one who dreamed our basic dream in the old world, while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore, and Poland's plain, and England's grassy lea, and torn from black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today? The millions shot down when we strike? The millions who have nothing for our pay? For all the dreams we've dreamed, and all the songs we've sung, and all the hopes we've held, and all the flags we've hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. For those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again. America. Oh, yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we, the people, must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again.
Thank you, Allan. It's amazing that that poem was written decades ago. Could be for this moment. So before we close our Torah service, I'd like us to take a moment to offer a special blessing for new beginnings and new babies and anything that's new since last Rosh Hashanah. So if we were in person, I would invite those who graduated, those who have a new job, a new house, a new person in your families, all of those people to come and stand up on the bima. And right now, if you have something that you're celebrating, some new thing, please put it in the chat so we can all see it and celebrate it together. And in particular, if we have, I don't know if Aaron and Eleanor are here with their baby Deborah, or if there are other babies, we particularly are excited to see you and bless the new babies that are among us in our community. Babies are unpredictable, so even if we had a plan to have the babies be present, they may not be awake and in a good mood. So we'll see if we there we have some babies. All right. Well, a 2-year-old, but still pretty new, Francis. Yes. And so let's celebrate all of those new beginnings. It's so important to remember in times where we're so conscious of the things we've lost. It's important to remember all of the beautiful new beginnings and arrivals and things to celebrate as well. So we're going to do that with a special blessing of the Shechiyanu. And Nate, you can keep the chat open through this next prayer, because I think people are still not done writing in their new beginnings. And we're going to turn things over to Miriam and Douglas for the blessing for new arrivals and beginnings. Shechiyanu on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechiyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechiyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
And so now we're going to move on into one of the parts of the Rosh Hashanah service, an encounter with shofar. And if you have a shofar with you, I invite you now to go locate it and bring it close, because you will have a chance to sound the shofar. We're also going to listen to one of our shofar masters, Jeffrey Branstetter, who's going to offer the sounding of the shofar for those of us who don't have one in our own spaces. And to get us ready for that, I just want to share with you sort of what I think one interpretation of these blasts could be. If I had to transcribe the 100 blasts for you in their various permutations, this is how I would render the shofar's call into English. Awake, awake, now, awake, awaken to the suffering of others. Awaken to the beauty of creation hidden in ordinary things. Awaken to what calls you to be better, to be alive, fully alive. Awaken to the power and agency that are your God-given human inheritance. Awaken to your limitations, the mortality that will one day claim you. And don't waste another moment of your one wild and precious life. So now we're going to hear that in another language, the language of the shofar. Please rise and get your shofar at the ready. The blessing for saying the shofar, for hearing the shofar, is on page 14, and we'll say it together, and then hear a round of 30 blasts. So first the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Jeffrey, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Tekiah. Shvarim Trua. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shvarim Trua. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shvarim Trua. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shvarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shvarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shvarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah Gedolah. Whew. All right. Yasher koach. Please remain standing and return to page 15. You can sing with me and then read with me. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Berosh Hashanah yikatevun. Uvyom Tzom Kippur yechatemun. Top of page 15. Berosh Hashanah yikatevun. Uvyom Tzom Kippur yechatemun. And please read aloud with me. On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed. Who will dwell peacefully and who will be detained? Who will be separated and who will be reunited? Who will become incarcerated and who will be pardoned? Who will shelter safely and who will be exposed? Who will be casualties of climate change and who will make sacrifice to stop it? Who will believe in lies and who will deny the truth? Who will demand moral leadership and who will give up in cynical despair? Who will hate their neighbors and who will create community? Please sing with me. Uteshuva, utefila, utedaka, mavirin et roa
hagzeira uteshuva utefila utedaka mavirin et roh hagzeira. But repentance, prayer, and giving lift the evil decree. Please join me. Let our values, our love, and our hunger for justice transform what may yet be written. May we accept what is beyond our control with grace. Let repair, prayer, and giving mend our broken hearts as we join together to work for a better year. You may be seated. And now we listen to a contemporary version of this prayer.
In the words of master songwriter Leonard Cohen, the Unatonef Tokef, taken directly from the text that we know as the Unatonef Tokef. And who by fire, and who by water, and who in the sunshine, and who in the nighttime, and who by high ordeal, and who by common trial, and who in your merry month of May, and who by very slow decay, and who shall I say is calling? And who in a lonely slip, and who by barbiturate, and who in the realms of love, and who by something blunt, and who by avalanche, and who by powder, and who for her greed, and who for her hunger, and who shall I say is calling? And who by brave ascent, and who by accident, and who in solitude, and who in this mirror, and who by his lady's command, and who by his own hand, and who in mortal chains, and who in power, and who shall I say is calling? And who shall I say is calling?
Thank you. That's moving. So now we're going to take a moment to pray again with our bodies as well as our words and our song. And we're going to do this with a practice of prostration that's brought to us in the liturgy with a prayer known as the Alenu Hagadol, the great Alenu. During the year, it's often practiced to just do a bow with this, just a small bow. And on the high holy days in particular, we're invited to really fully embody the surrender of this prayer. And we're very blessed to have with us a talented yoga teacher to give us some guidance. So I'm going to, in a moment, turn things to Chad Balch to lead us through sort of the spiritual meaning and the physical opportunity of this practice. In your spaces, we all have different situations going on, but when the time comes, don't worry about your video feed. Just find a space to practice if you'd like to. And Chad will give us some good guidelines of how to deepen our practice.
Thank you, Rabbi Katie. So prostration, although it's a physical act, it's fundamentally a state of mind. And it's about humility. It's about giving yourself over to something greater than you are, faith, and letting go. And you can bring this to the degree that you want into your physical body. And I first just want to show you some options. If you have something in mind, that's great. I'll show you a few things now just to give you a sense of the range. You can just sit and be with that state of mind. It can be a meditation, just where you are. And if you want to take it a step further, you can bring yourself lower. And I'm just showing you possibilities here. You can just lean forward. You can rest your head on something, maybe come a bit lower with your body. If you're comfortable coming onto the floor. If you want to bring yourself even further, more contact with the earth, you can stretch out. And it does not have to be a place where you stop. It can be an evolution, both in terms of your body position and your feelings and your sense of release. And if you're lying flat out like this, straight down, and you need to get up, sometimes it helps to turn over to your side first, and then your knees a little bit, and then push with your arms to come up sideways. Now we can do this together. We're going to get some assistance from Mikey through sound. And so as we go into this, you're going to hear a tone on the singing bell. Mikey is going to strike that tone, and that's the beginning of our prostration. And when Mikey hits that tone, you'll hear a ringing sound. And that ringing will be the evolution of us moving into whatever prostration that we want to offer today, to that which is greater than we are. So we can start, Mikey, when you're ready. And one more thing, there will be a tone at the end that you'll hear ringing, but you'll hear a second tone, and that will be our signal to begin to come back up.
So as we regather, something just occurred to me as we were practicing just now, which is that, we're trying to move things along because it's Zoom and because we're all, in our own spaces. But we may not have spent long enough on some of these different practices this morning. And I just want to invite you to return to them. So especially through these next days of awe that start today and go through Yom Kippur, you may want to try out some of these practices again, the Hitbodedut, the speaking your prayers out loud, the prostration, meditation, singing, all of these things. I hope that all of us can return to them as they are useful and consider this a tantalizing taste. So we're moving towards the end of our time together, and no service would be complete without taking some time to remember those that we have loved and lost. We do that with the Kaddish. It's on page 13. And Nate, our Zoom guru, is going to open up our chat bar if you'd like to add names there of people that you're remembering. You can bring them into your heart. I will read various lists. Our most recent losses list, our list of Shloshim, the 30 days that we remember someone after they die. And then the yard sites, the losses that have happened at this time of year and years gone by. And then, of course, our Yizkor list, those who are who have passed since last Rosh Hashanah. So first, the list of our recent losses. Clarice Lifson, Laura Siegel, Marvin Rosenblatt, Leonard Levine, Michael Jacobs, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, whose name I had to add just because it happened just now. We also remember the following yard sites that fall at this time of year every year. John Paul Ferrara, Robert Joseph Gerard, Phil Weinstein, Jean Barry, Ann Potter, Mary Tibbetts, Leon Seligman, Stephen Feiner, Bob Don't, Sandra Klein, Rose Balin, Saul Zorn, Alvin Siegel, Michelle Turner, Sylvia Glass, Rose Miller, Seal Boren, Joseph Roth, Lucy Saltzman, Selma Rosenberg, and Eric Richard Solo. And finally, we remember those that we have lost since last Rosh Hashanah. Richard Denholtz, Doris Lewis, Jeanette Marie Glass, Faye Rabinowitz, Elizabeth Lee Ty Fox, Kayla Shea, Renee Klein Pleaner, Jerome Muchin, Pierre Jeremy Barlett, Stanley Weiner, Louis Schlipak, Morris Herzig, Ruta Penkiunas, Jeffrey Dinsmore, Hill Boss, Stephen Arkin, Nancy Stevens, Anchi Kuo, Gerald Himmelfarb, Phyllis Goldstein, Bob Hauser, Clarice Rubin Lifson, Laura Siegel, Marvin Rosenblatt, Leonard Levine, Michael Jacobs, Bernice Lenore Bressler, and George Floyd, and all of those others who've been lost to systemic racism. So again, we remember those that I named, we remember those that you're naming now in the chat, and for those who are saying Kaddish, you can rise now. If you would like to stand in solidarity, you can do so now, or you can rise in particular in this place in the prayer where the community responds, Yehei Shmei Rabbah, and so on. All right, so page 13. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shmei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal Shmei d'kudsha Barechu. La'ela u'la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, v'amiran ve'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen.
Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'imru. Amen. You may be seated. So, a couple of words before we close. First of all, thanks. Thank you so much to all of Or Shalom's staff and volunteers who have made this amazing, complicated service possible, with all of its elements and all of its tech and all of its song and words. And thank you to everybody who's been a part of it. It's really been quite an adventure. And so I want to invite you into some more adventures. So first of all, if you are interested in some practicing tomorrow, tashlich, or even going out into maybe the oceanscape and hearing the shofar as we've done in the past, we have sent you a, you can go to the Or Shalom website, the High Holy Day page, and you can find materials for self-guided practice for the second day of Rosh Hashanah. So there are written materials and audio tracks. And the written materials include a little guidance about some suggested things you might do, like guided meditation, listening to poetry, singing along with Corey and Pat, and hearing Jeff do 100 blasts of the shofar. So all of that is on the website, and you can find it there. And hold on just a second. So between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are 10 days known as the Days of Awe. And there's all kinds of stuff going on. First of all, we have many social action opportunities that we've outlined in a project we're calling the Fast That I Desire. So you can find all that on the website and probably in your inboxes. In particular, there are some scheduled things you can participate in. Tuesday night, a presentation on Prop 15, which is a very consequential ballot measure that Or Shalom has endorsed, which could provide much needed funding to schools and other very worthwhile social safety net programs in our locality. On Thursday morning, we'll have a healing service in our regular Thursday morning minyan slot, 10 o'clock in the morning, healing service. And then in the evening at 7 p.m., we're going to be having a Considering God Salon, which is a community-led discussion with poetry and music, giving us a chance to really dig in and talk to each other about how we can cope and thrive in these challenging times. Friday night is a Shabbat blessing session with me at 7 o'clock. And then Saturday morning, we have embodied spiritual practice. So if that embodied stuff really moves you, or if you enjoy it and find it meaningful, come on Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. Me and our member, Gail Burowitz, will be leading a workshop of taking these themes into the body. And then Saturday night will be we're partnering with Yeshore to do a virtual bonfire of reflection. So that's 8 o'clock. You can find details again on our website or in your inbox. Yom Kippur this year is Sunday, the 27th of September. We'll have family services at 5, main services at 7 for Kol Nidre. And then in the morning, 9 o'clock family services, 10:30 is our main service. Yizkor is broken out this year. It's going to be at 2 o'clock. And then Ne'ilah, the final closing service of Yom Kippur, will begin at 7 o'clock on the 28th. And Yom Kippur is not all. So after Yom Kippur, we have Sukkot, we have Simchas Torah, so stay tuned for those gatherings as well. Simchas Torah is at 5:30 on October 10th, and Sukkot we're going to celebrate on Friday night, the 2nd at 7, and also we'll have a couple of opportunities in the morning on Sunday and Thursday during that week. So lots coming up, stay tuned. And I'm now going to turn things to a tradition at Or Shalom, which is to invite Ruth Maginnis to remind us of those who are in need at this time and what we can do about it.
Thank you. If you close your eyes and think of a mental picture of a child in need in Hungary, hungry, malnourished. There are children in San Francisco like that. And this year, you don't have to go to the store and get groceries. This year, I'm asking you to go on the website for the San Francisco Marin Food Bank and donate either monthly or just one time for children, adults, elderly in San Francisco and Marin who are in need of food. The need is great because so many people are unemployed, and it's so easy to do. You can just put the money, take the money from your credit card every month, or you could just do a one-time donation, but you'll feel better. And this is from a woman whose mother believed that if there was some child in need in the world, she was responsible to do something about it. So think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. So we're going to close with two more songs. One is one that we've been singing for years, but this year we have a treat because the folks who wrote the song have given us a video of a special message for Shalom and themselves leading us. The words are still in our prayer books on page 12. And thank you, Mikey, for arranging for that connection. Mikey, who knew the singers, the Levins, who brought us this song called Daniel's Round. And as we are drawing to a close, if you have any, I saw a few chats go through of just gratitudes and other things. We're going to open the chat one more time so you can write those in there as we prepare to close.
Lashana Tova Tika Tevu to you, Or Shalom.
We are the Levins, and we are so grateful to have this opportunity to be with you.
And to wish you a meaningful, connected, and harmonious new year.
Those that turn, 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 many to righteousness will shine, shine, shine with heaven's sweet caress. Those that turn, 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 many to righteousness will shine, shine, shine with heaven's sweet caress. And those that can discern will shine with blessings from on high, like the dome of heaven's firmament, like a Zohar in the sky. And those that can discern will shine with blessings from on high, like the dome of heaven's firmament, like a Zohar in the sky. Those that turn, 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 many to righteousness will shine, shine, shine with heaven's sweet caress. Those that turn, 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 many to righteousness will shine, shine, shine with heaven's sweet caress. V'hamaskelim yatziru kezohar harakia u'maslikei harabim kakoravim le'olam ba'ed.
So we're going to have one more chance to sing now for our closing benediction. You can stand, you can sit, and you may become visible, so be ready for that. We have words for this on page 12, I think. It's the closing benediction that we've sung for many years, since before my time at Or Shalom. So stand if you'd like, and just imagine us connecting to each other in physical space, but certainly in our spiritual space, for sure. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. One more time. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. Shana Tova Umetuka, a year of health, a year of joy, a year of rebuilding and becoming. May this year ahead be one of only good blessings for each of us and for our world. Amen. Shana Tova.